Hey, it's your old pal Slim, and this is 70mm, a podcast for film fans just like you. With me, as always, is my close friend and artist, Danny Haas.
Hello.
And our military expert and close friend, Proto Alexis. Every episode is connected to a theme for that month, and this time it's NEWVEMBER, new movies, or just new to us. We're wrapping up this month with Napoleon from Ridley Scott, and you can use the chapters in your podcast app to skip right to that discussion. Jasher left a review of this movie. It's a friend of ours. Napoleon, more like Napoleon, sleep emoji. I was trying to think of a witty review, but I don't know if I can tap Napoleon.
Yeah, you took that one. We're all second place immediately.
I have another one written down.
Yeah,
that I didn't use. I'll say
Let's get into it.
What is it?
Monty Python's Napoleon boner part.
That's good.
Thank you.
That one is pretty good. I've been getting a lot of DMs today. A lot of questions if we're going to tackle this topic. Subject. This is breaking news as of recording.
Oh.
The Cybertruck of pricing officially announced today.
God.
Rear wheel drive version of the Cybertruck. It's not starting at $39K, folks. If you thought Elon Musk was telling you the truth in 2019, I got news for you. It's $60K. $61K, really, probably. Part of your thoughts on the Cybertruck?
Well, actually, 39K and 60K due to inflation, it's actually not that far off when you usually consider it.
Can you imagine listening to that person speak for more than 5 seconds?
God.
I mean, what were those people doing at that summit listening to him speak in that blazer or that winter blazer he was wearing? Danny, you buying the Cybertruck? Did you have a down payment down?
No, God, no. Thing's ugly.
Yeah, it's ugly as hell.
It's a shame.
I mean, this is like you have a license to slap a person if you see them driving a Cybertruck. You will not be incarcerated or arrested if you slap a human being for driving that car.
We were promised so much of the future. And now this truck.
All right, enough of this person. We don't want to talk about this person.
Get him out of here.
Let's move on.
I don't like him. I don't respect him. I don't want him on this show. Get him out of here. We have a big episode this week. This is the end of NEWVEMBER. Napoleon, the big release this week. I saw it in IMAX.
Did you?
I saw it in IMAX today.
Ooh.
And I'll tell you what, I had a bad experience in that theater. We'll get into it later in the show. We'll get into it. I hate to be the one who always complains about theater experiences, but you know, this is my life.
Comes with the age.
Was it feet or children?
It was neither. It was the sound. I sat in the right corner.
Save it.
All right, we'll get into it. Just
Top
moments away. Use the chapters if you want to get right to the Napoleon segment. It's going to be hot as hell, folks. Just a reminder, we're taking December off. We're off. This is our last live recording of the month. The episodes, all but one, are edited and done in the bin. We'll be dropping new episodes in December, but they're all going to be surprise bonus eps. Christmas in December, Pro. It's happening. It's real. This is it. You're clocking out after trying
to, how can I call you Santa Claus? Slim Claus.
You nailed it.
Going to be whipping those episodes out of his sack and shoving them down your chimney every Monday morning.
Oh my God. Well, how can we recover from that moment, folks? We'll try to rebound. Danny, how far along are you on the episode art for those 4 episodes that are dropping in December?
Of the 4, I have none of them done as of recording. So.
Got it. Understood. Busy month ahead.
We're all going to be busy.
Yeah, my night doesn't end tonight.
Listen, if you need help with that art, you let us know, Danny. We'll hop
you.
right on to assist any way we can.
I hear I can use AI.
We're not getting into that right now.
I hear I can just type in.
Now. I'll tell you that much right now.
Just
Let's
type
not
it in.
Get into it.
Proto, did you watch any movies this week?
Slim, that's a great question. Let's
get into
see. Oh, I did watch. I watched The Blue Beetle. This is the new DC movie that came out, right? Yeah, this is now on Max. I gave it 2 stars.
Oh, jeez.
Mamma mia.
You know, let me ask you this.
Proto is prayer handsing, by the way, right now.
Let me describe this movie to you, and then afterwards, you tell me where everything goes wrong. We're gonna have an origin story about the character Blue Beetle.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to feature a lot of CGI. It's going to look great. We're going to have a villain. We're going to have Susan Sarandon as the villain.
She's the villain in that movie?
Is this where you want me to stop? Is this where you think it's gone wrong?
She's a villain in real life right now, I think.
Oh, no.
Oh, is that true? We can't get into it right now.
We don't have the time. We don't have the
time
time to get into that right now.
But yes,
continue.
Susan Sarandon is the big bad. And it's not like she's an alien or she's some kind of mastermind. She's just an older woman who's like works at a company. And that's like the bad guy in this movie. So that's all I really have to say. It was, it's kind of the same of most of these movies. I liked it better than The Flash, though. So that's something.
Okay.
I think that's something.
Wow. I like The Flash. I'm anxious to see Blue Beetle. James was excited when it was in theaters, but as soon as it left, he had no desire anymore. I was like by myself.
Yeah. Do you want them?
I can't imagine returning.
Anything else, Proto, you want to touch on?
Yeah, I just
keep in mind, Danny didn't watch any movies.
I have one. I just didn't log it.
Just keep in mind.
Okay.
I got one.
All right. Well, let me see here. So I could mention 2 more. A yearly watch for me, a tradition. Fire up the old YouTube machine and put on the Muppet Family Christmas, which is a banger. If you haven't ever seen it, came out in 1987. It's like a made-for-TV movie, and Black Friday is usually the day we go out and get our Christmas tree. So we went and got the tree, put this on, and just had a great time with the Muppets. Staying at Fozzie Bear's mom's house. She's about to listen. Could you imagine being about to leave for the Bahamas for the holiday, and then like 60 Muppets walk through your door, canceling your plans? It's tragic.
You had an IG story where it was just like a slow zoom in on Miss Piggy. It was amazing.
See, where the guy, I don't remember the one guy from the Mayhem band. He's like, she looks pretty good for a pig.
God.
Yeah.
Just her face is just so comedic the way it turns, and she just has that like frown on her face when she's pissed off. It's amazing. Amazing work.
I also was able to round out my movie watching experience tonight. I had started this. I almost had to DNF Marcel the Shells with shoes on because my kids I started with my kids and they all just dropped like flies. No one really wanted to finish it.
Sheesh.
But I put it on and said, hey, if you guys aren't going to finish it, I'm a professional. I'll watch it by myself. So I did.
Yeah,
I had a lot of trouble, just suspending my disbelief with this, though.
But you were fine with the Muppets.
Yeah.
You do the math.
Fantastic Mr. Fox is in your top 4.
No. See, this...
He wasn't ready to be attacked with his own opinions.
A real animal. I mean, the shell...
Okay, Christopher Walken.
That's exactly what I heard.
Shell.
The amount of things the shell does without any arms. Is there
I don't
any
hear any more of
explanation?
your Marcel the Shell 3-star
Let's move
thoughts.
on.
We're immediately moving on.
All right, I'm done.
cutting this segment out
Cut
from
it
the
all
show.
out.
I want to say hello to Shad, who joined the Patreon this week at patreon.com/70mm. Got access to our VHS Village Discord, discounts on Danny's Prince, and our Blue Valentine episode was our 50th patron-only episode that was just released. We're still working on formulating our Hunger Games movie plans.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that.
That was promised. Once we hit 400 patrons, we're there. We've passed it. Who knows what the end of the month charges will bring? You know, when those charges come in, people will just crap their pants.
Jesus.
We'll see what number we're at in January or December. I don't even know what the hell month it is. So that's that. You said you watched a movie, Danny?
Yeah, I forgot to log it. We did our yearly watch of You've Got Mail the Saturday after Thanksgiving. But this year, we invited our $3 to watch it with us for the first time. And obviously, they're not going to understand dial-up internet, AOL, the 90s. But the best was seeing their faces and watching them try to crawl into the couch when the term cybersex is brought up.
Oh.
Mamma mia. If you want to see 3 teen girls crawl into a couch, put on You've Got Mail and just watch cybersex being brought up. My God.
What
It was
were their
amazing.
overall thoughts on the movie?
Actually, they loved it. They really did like it. But also I threatened them to kick them out of the house if they didn't. So,
Yeah, of course.
Fair.
you know,
Tom Hanks, cybersex icon in the 90s.
anyway, yeah, that's what I've watched. Been keeping up with Monarch.
What episode are we on to? 4 right now? 4 episodes?
4, yeah. Yeah, and then I'm hopefully getting to -1 this weekend.
Yeah, I asked James if he
Dying
wanted
to
to
watch
go
it.
to theaters with me to see that, and he's on the fence. I told him it was subtitled.
I'm also hearing great things, so.
Yeah, a lot of buzz. I'm ready to reveal the television show that I started
Oh,
a couple weeks ago because I'm
Let's hear
caught
it.
up, essentially caught up. I'm like 1 or 2 episodes back. It's now a safe space for me to reveal that I binge watched For All Mankind
oh my gosh.
because I got tired of hearing Danny say so
Sorry.
many good things about it. I had to make my own decisions,
Mm-hmm.
and he's correct. It's amazing. I might, once the time comes to write a snarky review or
Yeah,
a
you got it.
thread, I might do For All Mankind greater than sign Battlestar Galactica. I might say that. Those are strong words for the sci-fi geeks out there.
It is some strong words, but
You
it's
know?
the same creator, so.
I didn't even know that.
It's Ronald D. Moore.
I don't know who that is. Did that guy create Battlestar Galactica, the OG?
No, he did
Or was he the showrunner for the old series?
the new series.
Yeah, well, that's what I meant. Sorry. The
Yeah.
take.
Unless I'm wrong. I'm pretty sure I'm right. I'm never wrong.
That's all I have to say about it, folks. I'm not going to
Glad
hype
you
it up
love
any
it.
further.
Save it for threads. Save
Save
the
it for
rest.
threads. Stay tuned to my threads account. I won't be posting elsewhere. I'll tell you that much right now. Every week we give out a free year of Letterboxd patron. Gets rid of ads. You get a fancy backdrop on your profile. Find out where your movies are streaming. And this week's winner, you have to tag your reviews, 70mm pod. That's how I track things. A lot of reviews to go through this week. But one jumped out at me, mainly for snarky purposes. It was for Raging Bull. 5-star review from Peppy. Every hit De Niro took felt like I do every morning after the live recording and realizing I didn't win the free year of patron. That was their review of Raging Bull. So guess what? You just won the free year of Letterboxd patron.
Congrats.
That review, Peppy.
My God.
Congratulations. What do I want to talk about? I watched Hellraiser 3.
Okay. Merry Christmas.
All these Hellraiser nerds like myself, but they were saying like Hellraiser 3 may be the best one. They're wrong. If you hear someone saying that, you might want to mute their account.
They
Don't
probably
listen
drive
to
a
them.
Cybertruck.
They pre-ordered the Cybertruck. I gave it 2.5 stars. I thought it was kind of crap, but there's some cool things with Hellraiser in a church, and he's like saying, quotes from the Bible, and it was just like kind of like a cool vibe.
Pinhead?
What did I say?
You called him Hellraiser, but I don't know if that's correct.
Oh yeah, Pinhead. I didn't love that he was like back to being the villain after what happened. You know, the Return of the Jedi vibes from the second movie.
Yeah.
There was a cool club scene where he just like annihilates people dancing in a club. Hard, like chains going every which way, cutting people's like faces off.
Oh my.
There was like a DJ that had the CDs into his brain. Very creative from Pinhead. So some cool stuff there.
CDs.
I also saw The Iron Claw. You heard about this?
I mean, that's huge.
This Sean Durkin picture about the Von Erich family, pro wrestlers from the late 70s, early 80s. It's got Zac Efron in it, Jeremy Allen White, the Bear. Ever heard of it?
Mm-hmm.
And I got an early screening. Did you get a screening? You didn't. I didn't see you at the theater for this one.
No, I missed this one. Wasn't able to make it to the Iron Claw.
I do too.
I liked it a lot. 4 stars. I gave it. Not a dry eye in the house.
Goodness.
Folks. The Von Erichs family. Very sad story about this family. Very unlucky.
What didn't
cursed.
push you to 5 stars?
I thought that the director tried to really, thread the needle between wrestling being fake, but also like being important to this family. So he kept a lot of like the details about the business out, like totally kind of hidden. And I don't know if that was the right decision yet. Like I feel like it might still confuse people if they don't know the business of wrestling. They still might be like asking a lot of questions watching the movie about why this way or why is this happening. And like in my head, like I know their story, so I know everything, but some stuff would come up and I'm like, oh, I wish they would have said that like what a territory is or like why that was important in the 80s, like a wrestling territory, or why it's important that the NWA champion is coming to their town. Because that's how these territories like made money. They would tour with the NWA champion like Ric Flair for like a month, and whoever was the local stud in Texas would fight them for a month, but they'd lose all those matches, but it would like be a close match and give them, quote, the rub so that they would look like a star. So that stuff just wasn't kind of explained. I wish it was, but it was definitely a purposeful decision. But like, how much can you bog down the viewer with wrestling parlance just before they just check out completely? As many people listening right now probably have.
How'd you know their story? Like, is there like a documentary that's good that goes over their life?
There is. You could probably Google Dark Side of the Ring Von Erichs. There's like a Dark Side of the Ring television series, like a mini documentary series. They would do an episode on a wrestler. It's like 40 minutes. But I had known about the Von Erichs growing up, a wrestling fan, about how they were like essentially like a cursed family. All these like terrible things happened to the brothers. They've often been referred to as like the Kennedys of pro wrestling. Like they could have been the biggest thing in history, but so many bad things happened to the family, so it never really kind of happened.
Not a feel-good story, or you're going to see with the Iron Claw.
It depends. Like I thought it was a great way to honor the family. Like Kevin is in the documentary of the Dark Side of the Ring, so you can kind of see how Kevin's life has evolved over the years. So it depends. In my head, I was wondering how they're going to turn this into kind of like a positive thing, but they do by the end, I think. So I'm excited for people to watch it in December when it comes out.
Zac Efron's body on the banner image.
Insane.
His body and his hair. His hair is pretty wild. Like the set photos of Zac Efron, like at this movie with his hair, it looked horrendous. He looks horrific. But it worked for me. Should we get into Napoleon?
It's time.
I just had to call out too, the Proto does these UFOs for interns on the Patreon. Proto's Joaquin Phoenix Napoleon voice. It's something quite special in my opinion. So this is November. The last movie is Napoleon by Ridley Scott. And it's in theaters right now. I think it'll probably be on Apple at some point in the future. But Proto, what is this movie?
It's 1789 and there is a revolution in France. The guillotine is working overtime and Officer Napoleon Bonaparte watches the Queen Marie get offed. A sharp military mind he is given the task of capturing an important port where he uses big brain tactics to win the day. Promoted to general, Napoleon leads France in victory after victory, climbing the ladder of power as fast as his wee legs can carry him. Meanwhile, he meets the bosom of Josephine, a widowed aristocrat. Using the tactic of barking like a dog, he routs her stronghold and claims another victory for France. But as he goes off to conquer the world, Josephine has other plans. Sexually. Eventually, Napoleon becomes the emperor of France, but gets slapped by the Russian winter, demoted and exiled, returns and is defeated for world domination round 2, and eventually retires to an island with his big hat where Josephine lives rent-free until the day he dies. Napoleon.
Napoleon. Yeah, I mean, he's exiled twice, right?
Twice.
Doesn't he get exiled twice? God. What an intro to this 2.5 hour long historical epic. Barry Lyndon, I think, got brought up a few times in reviews.
Oh, yeah.
I was thinking of Barry Lyndon as I was sitting in my IMAX row at, where was I? Chamonix, PA. Where are my Chamonix folks at? PA.
Do you want to get into your viewing?
Oh, yeah. Let us see.
You hinted at it.
We can. I bought tickets, AMC stubs.
You paid for tickets?
No, $0.
You didn't waive your letterbox?
$0
crew
No.
member?
I used the AMC
credentials.
stubs. I think I did have a screening invite for this, but it was like, I felt like it was last month and I would have forgotten everything that I had
Yeah, you definitely
seen.
would have.
So I got, back row boys, hashtag back row folks, because I'm going to be whipping out my phone to take notes. That's the only thing I'm going to be whipping out, folks, the back row. And I went in, so the middle seats were all taken by like the back 3 rows. So I was like, all right, I gotta go on the right side or whatever. It's IMAX. Never been to the IMAX theater here. But I actually, believe it or not, I think I saw Top Gun Maverick here.
Oh.
And the previews are playing. And there's a speaker on my side of the theater that is, I guess, responsible for the sound effects and music of all the trailers. And it is loud as F. It's the loudest speaker I've ever heard in a movie theater. It's drowning out all the vocals of all the trailers. Like I'm literally crapping my pants that I'm in that situation like this where I was like, oh my God, is this going to be the whole movie? Like, is the actual movie going to be drowned out by the special effects? I can't hear anything. First of all, I'm not that old, folks. I'm not that old. I'm no longer in my 30s, but that's it. Okay. So thankfully, the Napoleon movie doesn't have a ton of like music blaring or sound effects outside of the battles, so it didn't really like have a negative experience because the vocals, like people were just, how often you don't have to worry about hearing Joaquin Phoenix's murmuring for 2.5 hours.
A lot
That's
of
not drowned out by sound effects and music by Trent Reznor or Atticus Ross. So thankfully, it was just the previews that were bad, and it didn't really ruin the experience of the movie. That's all I have to say.
How about seeing the Aquaman trailer again?
I'm so sick of that trailer.
How's this movie not out? I thought it came out years ago. What is this?
I was unemployed for the last couple of years.
I feel like this trailer's been in theaters for 2 years now.
Also, the CGI of him like making that bridge.
Jesus.
Let's go back to Formula. It just looks so corny.
Their hair underwater.
Oh my God.
Like I know hair moves underwater, but
I'm sorry.
Maybe every mermaid should have a shaved head instead.
Any other underwater action post Avatar 2, get it out of here.
I want it gone. All right, so we'll go around the room. We jot down 3 things. Hopefully, Proto alluded to not having any notes for this discussion earlier today. Who knows if that's true or not? But we'll jot down some things when we watch. We'll go round table style until we get through our main points, and then we'll give our letterboxed rating. Let's start with Mr. No Notes, Proto Lexus, or War Expert.
My first note is actually that I wrote down. This isn't actually my real note, but it was about that. Did you have the trailer for The Boys in the Boat?
Yeah, that looked great.
I don't know what that is, no.
Oh, it's like, it's about like this rowing team.
Yeah.
This underdog rowing team.
I don't know. I got the chills.
To challenge the Nazis in like the 1930s or something.
Yeah, George Clooney directed it.
Really? No, I got a Mark Wahlberg dog movie that actually I kind of want to see. Yeah, he's on this like adventuring team where they run and bike and zip line through this like forest. It's like a race, but he comes upon this like dog at the beginning of the race, and then he sees the dog again 200 miles later, and it's probably like deeply
Possessed
religious book that it's based on. That's why he's in it. But I was like, I want to see
Cujo 2.
The Shaq Cujo.
Anyway, my first point. I felt disappointed in how little I felt like I learned about Napoleon. Now listen, movies don't have to be history lessons, right? Sure. We all saw the Ridley Scott clips, him saying, you know, this isn't historically accurate. Get out of my face, retire. But for a 2.5 hour movie about a guy who was an emperor, I feel like I came away with this movie like not knowing much more about him than I went in with. And that kind of was disappointing to me. I honestly wish I like kind of learned something more about him.
I learned absolutely nothing about Napoleon.
I can't believe you're saying
I feel like
this.
I went in knowing less than I did beforehand about Napoleon.
I can't believe this. I told Casey tonight, I was like, I don't know what my notes really are, but I feel like my little knowledge of Napoleon, I feel like I know even less about him coming out of this film. I said that tonight to Casey.
Yes, it's like this movie makes it more confusing because you know that he's mixing in like fiction with it. So I don't even know what's real or not.
He's like, he just like appears in his first scene. He's already like there and kind of strutting around as Joaquin Phoenix as Napoleon. Also,
say it. Say it.
Eye roll.
I just did it a big eye roll. Like when he first appears in the movie, I know it's like Joaquin Phoenix and he's like doing his voice in the trailers, but like, I mean, he's literally just Joaquin Phoenix dressed as Napoleon in this movie.
Yes.
Everyone else is doing an accent, but he is just Joaquin in the outfit. And he's like strutting around the town as himself in this costume. And I'm like, oh man, the whole movie's going to be like this. He's already a character. But to Proto's point, like there's no backstory or anything. There's no like young Napoleon moving flags around a map, you know, or like doing, you know, having battleships in the bathtub where he's like, you know, a military genius or something. There's none of that. He's like just kind of there. He exists and he's a military genius. And that's all you get.
You wanted Napoleon's Fablemans.
I think I did.
Yeah. Where he's practicing more.
Would have liked that a lot more, I think.
He gave us like the titles would say like, oh, the Battle of Austerlitz or
I could barely read that font.
The Reign of Terror. Yeah. It was like papyrus in italics. But
you don't
those things, I feel like it gave so little that I didn't really even know where much was happening, or even like the extent of like the French Empire when he was ruling. I feel like it couldn't have been that hard to have guys around a table saying like, oh, this is our territory, this is what we have. It was just something to kind of get a sense of the scale of what he did. I mean, we see him in Egypt, which I guess
that was cool to see.
That's not even real.
He was never in Egypt?
The shots of the shots of him like hitting the pyramids and all that
explosions
didn't exist, didn't happen.
If I can interject one more time, I forgot about another big point at this theater
please.
That was negative. I always bring my water bottle into the theater.
They told you not to?
They told me I couldn't bring in my own water bottle to this theater. First time
you had to go back out to your Jeep?
I had to go back out to the Jeep and put it in the car.
Was it still running?
No, that's a callback, folks. Search Tenet and chatbot. GPT Plus.
You know what bugs me also, Proto, about it is hearing all of the clips of Ridley Scott just being mad at historians, and then to sit down and watch it and like, well, did this actually happen? Did what actually happened? Because no one is saying any of this is like factually correct. So it was like frustrating to watch, knowing all of the commentary beforehand going into that.
I mean, I remember Waterloo, and I know something about Waterloo.
Yeah, Waterloo.
So when that popped up, I was like fist pumping. I was like, hell yeah, I know about Waterloo.
Yeah, we pointed to it on the map.
There, but how about that giant map that got rolled out on the floor?
What a map.
That was cool.
Yeah.
Sheesh. I'm a military genius. When are you going to give me a child? How about the one he was like the one time where he was like mad about something? He was like putting his face into his hat and he was like shaking it up.
God.
I was thinking about like, let's do another take. That one was okay, but let's try 5 different ones. One where you're not acting like a baby.
Remember when he came in and Vanessa Kirby's getting her corset tied and he starts like
making the noises,
like, doing his foot like a horse. Like he's horny for her like a horse.
He's a steed.
My God. What was he doing?
The shots of him having sexual intercourse in this movie. Unreal. The 10-second man himself, Napoleon Bonaparte. My God.
Hopefully.
No wonder she's farting around with all these other beaux. My God, this guy is horrendous. Sheesh.
Yeah.
Nothing attractive about what was happening there between the two of them. We have to move on from the sex. Danny, what's your first point for Napoleon?
Napoleon having sex is my first note.
He's gonna hurt his hip. He was pumping so hard.
His little legs. My God.
His wee little pumping legs.
Wee lad. We can move on from that. I will say something positive.
Please.
I thought this film looked incredible. I think there was one time I think I almost audibly said, oh shit. It was when he's kind of walking through, I think it's before he's a general and he's like on a horse going through the city and he kind of looks down this, it isn't not an alley, but like a road. And it shows off into the harbor and the ships in the harbor. I'm like, my God, like so many of the shots of the ships. I mean, that's my jam. Like I loved seeing the ships on the water. It looked incredible. And I was like, man, I want to see the making of any of that because I feel like it's mostly green screen, but if they had one rad boat, I want to see it. And then the battle scenes I thought were great. Really loved the ice battle scene.
Oh, that was cool.
But then I think there was one, I think it may be the battle. They're all kind of blurring together. Maybe one of the last ones. And it was good. This film looked good. It's definitely a style over substance kind of film for me. So yeah.
Yeah, I thought the I thought the CGI looked good because it was convincing enough where I wasn't like, oh, that's obviously looks bad. You know, there's so many times now with movies where you just look at it and it just looks fake totally. With this, it was like, I could almost like not tell. I was like, I know this is fake, but it looks good enough that I'm like, oh, those could be ships in the harbor.
I was worried about like how hard he was going to go CGI. Like how many are they just going to be like all the soldiers? Like there's going to be these crazy shots of the cities that are just going to look bad. But I thought he reined it in pretty well. He didn't really, reined it in or just did a really good job with the CGI stuff that it wasn't obvious.
Yeah, a couple of the things that I really wanted to know more about was a lot of the crowd shots, the big wide shots of a lot of people looked incredible. But I loved like his coronation scene. Thought the building itself, his outfit, him having like the Caesar kind of tiara that he puts the crown on top of, like it. That was a pretty badass scene. I really liked it. Like I think costuming will probably get a nod in this movie. I think it's pretty incredible.
Thomas, why are we dropping Furiosa trailer links in live chat?
What is this?
Thomas is so bored by
he's bored by Napoleon
talk that he's linking Furiosa trailer drops. The production design is off the charts. Like the coronation scene was gorgeous. His outfit, actually, and everyone in there too looked awesome. There was a lot of those shots where it was just, I was kind of just like looking around the room just to see how much work was put into just the stuff in the background characters, the paintings, the buildings. I mean, that had been so much work to get these rooms all prepped for these shots. Also, like visually, I mean, you put a camera behind Napoleon where he's wearing that hat, it looks awesome.
Yeah.
And there's so many of those.
It's
it's like
silhouette.
Batman. It's like the original Batman silhouette. And it looked awesome, I thought.
Even the intro guillotine scene, I thought was like, I was like, okay, I was kind of like fist pumping, like, okay, here we go. This is incredible. The walk up to the guillotine, even her getting her head cut off. I was like, man, this is awesome.
That was cool. I mean, probably I was thinking about that. Probably the best way to go, I guess. Like,
should we bring the guillotine back?
Maybe. Good question.
Elon, please.
Let's get into it.
Yeah, like those shots of the palaces too were really cool. This actually brought me back to college because the hardest class I took when I was at college was it was on the French Revolution. Because the professor who taught it, he was a guy who got like a MacArthur grant, like that Genius Grant or whatever.
Oh gosh.
To literally study the like the French Revolution. He like went to France and he read like manuscripts from the 18th century, like no one had ever read, and then he like wrote a book about it. So he was like a bigwig in French history. But I remember one thing he talked about was Versailles, the palace, and how this has always stayed with me is that it has like over 2,000 bedrooms, but when they made it, they like didn't build bathrooms. So there was like some insanely low number of bathrooms, and but it would be full of aristocrats, but they had like nowhere to poop. So they would like poop in buckets and stuff, like in the corners of like the bedrooms in like this magnificent, insane palace.
Damn.
That always stayed with me.
That is
This
foul.
is gross.
That is foul.
I don't like this.
When I'm looking through my honorable mentions about how Anna is 15 years old. How I mean, what are the chances of the third movie this month?
Right?
What are we doing? Thank God we're finished.
I think thank God we're taking a month off.
The show
Fall
is
of
over.
70 millimeter.
Oh God. My number one. We've gone through my top three already. Let's talk more about Joaquin as Napoleon.
Mm-hmm.
I think he was miscast in this movie. I get like he's an amazing actor, and I agree. I just don't think he worked as Napoleon in this at all. It almost like took me out of it. And I guess you could say that could be for the writing of the movie and about how little they really wanted you to know about him. Like I felt like I knew nothing about Napoleon, the character, his thoughts, why he did anything. You have no reasoning why he loves his country outside the fact that he says it once or twice.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And on top of that, I just felt like, Joaquin acting as himself, it just felt like a giant miss for me as the viewer. So it was like a combination of those two things that like anytime he was on screen, I'm just kind of like, ugh, and he's the star of the movie pretty much.
Mm-hmm.
So kind of sunk me from the get-go. Proto, what did you think about him in the role?
Yeah, I completely agree. I thought this felt almost like a Marlon Brando performance to me. There's the stories of Marlon Brando just kind of cashing in and barely acting. This felt like they were almost like wheeling Joaquin out and like holding him up as he like read lines. It's just like he's not even like it doesn't even feel like he's a character. It feels like it's like, hey, we'll have him play Napoleon so we can put his name on the poster. And I agree. I feel like anyone else, like this would have been perfect to get like just like a no-name actor. Of course, he has, a really good actor, but someone who'd give a performance like we have no frame of reference of like who this person is, and just kind of coming out and giving an amazing performance as Napoleon. I think that would have been much better. But I agree. I thought it was like a complete miss. Yeah. He just does not do anything for me in this movie. And I think that's pretty rare with Joaquin.
But even said like visually, he looks great. Like in all these, promotional materials, him in costume, it rocks. Like he looks fantastic, but otherwise not. Danny, what'd you think?
I didn't like him at all. Like I wasn't joking about like Monty Python's Napoleon, because everything I felt like I was missing like a joke. Like it always felt like there was like a punchline coming after everything Napoleon did. There were moments where he would like do something little, like put his hat on Josephine or something. And it felt improv, and it felt like not what he was supposed to be doing.
Yeah.
Or like when he would drop something, it also felt like, can we get another take? Maybe Ridley. Yeah, I don't think he meant to drop that, because it always nothing looked on purpose. And he didn't escape Joaquin for me. He didn't disappear into like Napoleon to where I got past that I was looking at someone just cashing in a check.
And those scenes too felt like the only kind of emotion. Like I noticed those scenes too, where he like put her hat on her head as like as a bit. And those were like the only times where I got to see Napoleon do anything with emotion, you know? Like I wanted maybe some of that stuff written into the script. Like let's get a little bit more insight into why I should care about what I'm seeing on screen.
Yeah, the humor stuff, it just felt so like it misfired more than hit its mark. And I kind of felt this way about like the killer too. Maybe it's because of an expectation from Scott and a director like Fincher that you don't expect a comedic tone from them. But also at the same time, I think like maybe they just didn't know how to like land these moments, because it felt like I was watching a movie similar to Gladiator. And then it's as if like Gladiator had like these slapstick moments in it randomly,
right?
Which wouldn't make any sense and would kind of take me out of it. And I felt like those moments just kind of took me out of it. It's like, okay, that was for humor, but why?
Right.
Like, why is that in the movie? Right. And if it was going to be in the movie, it felt like it needed to be more consistent or show Napoleon as more of a clown and like make fun of him more rather than in these one-off moments.
Have him dance down a long flight of stairs. You know?
Right.
Yeah.
Poop in a corner.
Proto, what's next on your list?
So there's Napoleon, but then there's Josephine, played by Vanessa Kirby, who is the other main character in this movie. And I read a few reviews and just, I guess, things about the movie saying like, oh, this is less about like Napoleon's conquests and focuses more on his romance and his relationship, love affair with his wife, Josephine. But I don't know. I felt like that wasn't really even well explored in this. I felt like I didn't really know anything about Josephine by the end of this movie either. Like, what was her, okay, so she's horny and she like wants to sleep with other guys and like that's what she does. But it felt like there was more to it. Like, was she hostile towards Napoleon? Was she trying to get under his skin? Was she secretly against him? Did she have other motives? Like, none of that was explored. And it just felt like a black box through this whole movie. And the fact that it was such a big part, it just didn't feel explored well at all.
Yeah. I remember hearing like marketing from Vanessa Kirby about researching Josephine and like, what was her level of control with Napoleon and like how was she in this relationship? Was she like pulling the strings? But like none of that happened in the movie.
Right.
And she even like has that scene where I can't remember at what point this happens, but she like tells him to say that he needs her.
Yeah.
But like, does he? You're like barely together. And when you are, you're porking for 5 seconds. And then there's no like, she's never kind of like string pulling behind the scenes.
Yeah.
We're helping him make decisions. So I didn't really understand the dynamic that she was so important to him because you never saw that. Even in the letters, really. Maybe him like yearning for her while he's at battle. But other than that, I don't know. It's just like their relationship was very strange.
And it's frustrating too because Vanessa, I feel like, is doing the best job in this film, acting wise. I feel like she at least threw herself into this role where I didn't have to feel like she was just cashing in a check. But the Josephine stuff was so weird to me because everything felt out of like left field that happened to her. They don't explain to like her whole storyline is basically wrapped around having a boy, having a firstborn son with Napoleon. That's basically what they've like pigeonholed her into for this whole movie. Nothing about any part of the relationship that has to do with her pulling any strings, like you said. It was very weird. And then their divorce scene when he smacks her. Yeah. And like, I was like, I don't understand what's going on. Like, why is he acting like this? They're getting a divorce. Just chill. Give her a second. She's reading. Like, what? I just don't understand it. Like, that was like the frustrating part. Like, none of it made sense.
But also, she stays on the ground. She keeps the house. Like, I don't really, and they're still kind of together.
I don't get that either.
So, like, what was the divorce really? You know?
Yeah, the slapping scene is really fascinating too, because is this another thing? Like, did that really happen? I doubt it did. Like, it could have. Maybe it did happen and they recorded it because it was like, you know, a documented event on record. But if it didn't happen and Ridley put that in, or the screenwriter put that in, what was the point of it? Like, what if you're injecting this fiction into the story, what are you trying to communicate other than he definitely wants a divorce because he has to have an heir to continue his legacy? I guess that's it, but it just doesn't feel like it hits the mark.
Danny, next on your list?
Let it out. Just let it out.
There's just so many things that bothered me with this film. One of the things that I could not figure out is how many times and how many different ways did they overthrow like a sitting government? Like, there was the scene in the very beginning with the guy with the wig that tries to shoot himself in the head.
Ugh.
Which was wild. And then Napoleon and the three guys try to do the coup, which felt like a slapstick running around while the army's like, it just felt like they would like run through different doors like a Scooby-Doo episode, trying to run from each other. And then like he takes the crown and becomes king, and then just basically tells the guy at the table just to F off, like, this is my France or whatever. I was so confused about any of the changing of powers that I couldn't tell you who had more control, who else was in power, why this person on screen mattered that was like pulling Napoleon's strings from the beginning, like the kind of like put him in power. Like, who was that guy? Like, I don't understand. Like, that's like the most frustrating thing is there's so many moving parts in this film, and it's so poorly communicated about who's doing what and where and why that by halfway through, I'm like, just get to another battle scene so I can care about this movie again.
There is talk in chat of, you know, I think there was also talk online of like a longer cut, like maybe the version that hits Apple will be like 4 hours long or something. Maybe some of this stuff is explained.
I don't know if I can do
they had 2.5 hours. They could have done it in this version. But yeah, that scene was weird when Napoleon is like freaking out and talking to the guards during that initial coup attempt. And he's like panicking outside, and then they go back in and he has the upper hand again. Very strange. My number 2. How about the horse gore in this?
Oh my God. So much horse gore. The first horse with the cannonball?
And then he like digs out the cannonball.
Yeah.
Still in the horse.
Killed the horse?
Send this to my mother.
Also, I mean, the other scene where that dude shoots himself in the head and just blows off his like face by accident. Yeah. And one guy like puts his finger in his face.
Yeah.
That was a little unnecessary. Effed up people back then, I guess.
The French.
Very effed up. I was trying to do a little reading.
Thank you. Right now?
So please. That guy, no, a little earlier. Because I knew that guy, Robespierre, he was like a big figure in the revolution.
Is that the beginning guy that pulling Napoleon's
He's the guy who shoots himself in the face.
Oh.
Yeah. And his like Wikipedia page is like 10,000 words.
Oh God.
Yeah. It's like, there's so much that went on. But one crazy thing that I read is that there was a period, like I think they even say in the movie, the Reign of Terror, where they were like just guillotining aristocrats like left and right. Apparently they executed over 15,000 people.
Oh my God.
Yeah. And then also imprisoned like tens of thousands. So it was a tough time in France.
Aristocrats, at the risk of making myself sound like an idiot, are aristocrats just like rich people?
I think in this context, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, there was a scene where they got freed and they're like running through the streets. Remember that?
Again, are we bringing the guillotine back?
The one I'll bring up a thing I liked when he's in Egypt. First of all, the Egypt stuff looked cool. Just seeing him in Egypt. When he gets on the little stand, the stool to stand up when they open the coffin up, that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
How about that thing he does with his hat every time he takes it off a table? Did you notice that he just like rubs it off the table every time he uses an extra table? He did that. Ridley, what do you think if I put the hat on the table and I keep it on the table when I move away? Danny, next on your list?
I just went.
Oh no, sorry, Proto. It's Proto.
Oh, okay. Oh, God.
The panic in Danny that he had to mention something else about this movie.
Let's talk about the end a little bit. It is almost like too much to believe of how he was exiled and then returned. But that did happen. And I remember there is a movie, I think it's from the 70s called Waterloo, where it's like just about the Battle of Waterloo and him returning from exile. And I thought actually in that movie, I still remember the scene, and I must have saw this movie when I was like, I don't know, 12 years old. But when there's the same scene of him like coming up to his troops who are like coming to arrest him, and they come and join his side. I actually felt like what the Waterloo version did like a much better job of that. And again, I feel like that there wasn't much detail communicating even like what was going on there. Like he comes off this island, he had like a handful of officers, and then he gets to be like the ruler of France again. And I guess you can kind of connect the dots. He was the general, he was the emperor, and the army just kind of got back in line and followed him. But it felt a little bit rushed to me, like the whole last half hour.
How about this cast in Waterloo 1970? Rod Steiger, Christopher Plummer, and Orson Welles. What the? 3.8 on Letterboxd right now. It's got a pretty sick poster too.
Goodness.
The ending. Yeah, I don't have anything to say about the ending.
So how did he die in real life? Not just sitting in a chair watching, I'm assuming, his daughters play swords. Did he really just fall over dead?
I don't think
nobody knows. Nobody knows.
Somebody email Ridley Scott.
Please. The lack of prep we've done for this movie is coming through. Danny, final point.
I thought one of the scenes that looked absolutely stellar was them walking into, I think, abandoned, was it Moscow or St. Petersburg?
Right.
That looked rad. And then to turn around and see that they lit it on fire. I'm assuming that's factual. That's a big flub.
That looked cool.
Yeah, it looks super cool. I like that scene a lot. Other than that, I think my last note is if I never see Joaquin Phoenix kiss another human being in my life, it'll be too soon.
Let's hear the rating.
2.5 stars.
2.5 stars.
Yeah, not a fan.
Yeah, that was cool with the empty city. Talking about 300,000 people, and they just walk away, and then they burn the city. Also, him like saying he was like arguing with the girls at the end about how that wasn't true. Remember that?
Oh yeah.
My honorable mentions. What scene was it where he's talking to the family? Someone visited the family, and he's like, "My compliments to the chef of this fine family."
Oh my God! What?
That strange line.
That was so weird.
Oh yeah, Joaquin saying "No, madame." No, madame. No, madame. The charisma of a wet sock. Someone in the chat said that Thomas said Napoleon was apparently a charisma machine. That's some poor casting. I mean, let's get someone else with some charisma.
Please.
Yeah.
Charisma. Come, little one, get into the bed of your masters.
Come, little one.
I could just see you
Get into the
furiously
bed of your masters.
putting that in your notes in the back row.
Pull my phone up, zero brightness, typing it away in my notes app. We haven't mentioned it, but also you think you're so great because you have boats. I think I saw some play on social media and Letterboxd on that line. 2 stars for Napoleon. I couldn't deal.
Yeah.
I just couldn't deal with what I was seeing. I was kind of bored. Proto?
I mean, it still looked good.
Yeah, it looks
I
good.
think
Looks killer.
Yeah.
I had a fine time. I don't have any other notes. I feel like this is a begrudgingly giving it 3 stars.
Wow. 3. You heard it here first, folks. Wow.
I wonder what the last time Proto ranked higher than the 2 of us.
Never.
It might be Halloween. What was our communal ratings on Halloween 3? Proto gave that 5. I don't remember what I gave it, but I think we have a VM. Let me see. We have a Napoleon VM, and then for live listeners, we're gonna jump right into the mailbag episode. We have 8 pages.
Oh my God.
To get to tonight. Put the coffee on, folks.
Gotta stretch.
Stretch it. Let's see who we have here for Napoleon.
Bonjour. Ça va, my lovely podcast hosts? Ismail here. Can we just get a quick status report on our resident horse expert, Proto, on the state of the horse treatment in Napoleon? I mean, after riding high with Barbie and the stallions that we get there, Napoleon really just obliterates any progress we've made on this front. So the movie's fine, sure, but our equine friends really need our help. When will this be alleviated on the podcast? If we don't get a horse month after this, what kind of message is 70mm giving to horses all over the world? Love you guys, and hope you have a wonderful break. Gracias, Ismael.
Love you, Ismail. Always trying to paint us into a corner.
Mm-hmm.
You gotta love him for it. I'm afraid, Ismail, our only hope is to go undercover with Horse Month. We've done it before. Barbie. We're gonna have to do it again. We're gonna have to sneak in horse picks. We're gonna have to work the themes, massage the themes to make it happen, I think.
Yeah.
I just don't know if Horse Month's in the cards, but we'll find other ways.
I mean, why did it have to be so graphic?
Yeah.
You see the horse chest explode.
Mhm.
Completely unnecessary. IMO. All right. That's it for November.
We did it.
It's in the books. The famous 70mm books. It's now being entered into the books in the Haddonfield state of books.
Okay.
You heard it.
Michael Myers at the library desk writing it down.
So as everyone knows, next week, we're not going to tell you what's happening next week. We will be on vacation, but there will be an episode dropping Monday morning. We know what it is. We're very excited for that episode to drop. I hope everyone enjoys it. It'll be dropping Monday a.m. Proto, any closing thoughts? We won't see each other for another month, the 3 of us in this studio.
Yeah, I'm kind of shocked because we were looking at this month, Scorsese, Fincher, Scott, Scorsese again. And we thought, Coppola, surely there's going to be a 5-banger in there, right? Maybe multiples. We didn't have a single 5-star review from any of us this whole month.
Are you serious?
Yeah. You just never know.
Wow, I didn't even realize that.
I mean, the state of the men in these movies.
Yeah.
Maybe the
That's
worst
true.
stretch of leading men in the history of this show, to be honest.
Wow. We need leading ladies back.
Yeah,
Oh
we
my
need
God. We might need an emergency leading ladies month next year. All right. We'll see everybody. Technically, we'll see you at episode 200 in January, but we'll see you next week for Christmas in December. 70mm is a tape deck production featuring original artwork provided by Danny Haas. Spiritual guidance and V'ger, the robot who loves movies, provided by Pertalexis. Producer at large, Dale_A. And music composed by Cinematric. Prints and other merch are available on 70mmpod.com. This episode was mixed, edited, and produced by me, Slim. Support our Patreon for access to our VHS Village Discord to talk movies with new friends, access to our exclusive episodes in the 70mm vault, discounts on merch, uncut episodes, and a physical membership card mailed to you. To check out other Tape Deck podcasts, find the link in the episode notes. And if you'd like to support our friends at Letterboxd and upgrade to Pro or Patron status, you can do so with a 20% off discount using the links on 70mmpod.com. Goodbye.
This is a Tape Deck podcast.